Good afternoon out there. Corden Soroka from Allendale's trading floor here, September 21st, 2012, bringing you your afternoon wrap-up. Things finished mostly higher today for the commodity complex as we had the dollar trading down for most of the session. Things were fairly quiet as the range on most commodities were pretty narrow. We had the corn finishing up about 2 1/4 cents today, 7.48 1/4. The main driver behind the grains today was definitely the wheat complex. A lot of talk coming out about a Russian export ban, but we'll get to that in a second. Corn saw a little bit of pressure here throughout the session, but did finish, like I said, a little higher. The main driver is the wheat complex. Behind it is also a little bit of continued harvest pressure as some of the yields out there are coming in a little bit better than anticipated. So with these better yields, you've got a little bit more coming to the cash market. Other big things to mention today, South American rains are starting to move through as the rainy season is picking up, as we usually see in October. So some of the corn that is going to be going in the ground right now is going to be going in with some decent subsoil moisture, which should help the crop get started. There's been some talk about a drought recently down there. It's nothing I think we need to be too concerned about. The main reason behind that is because we are moving into the rainy season and out of the drier season. Beans today finished up 3 cents at about 16.21 3/4. Long liquidation did continue for part of the session there, but we did rally back strong within the last few minutes of trade as we saw a lot of MOC orders come in and support the bean market. South American rains, another topic that we're going to touch back on again for the beans. There has been continued worry about drought down there, and this is definitely something that's going to help get the beans started with some decent subsoil moisture as well. We had an announcement of 140,000 tons of soybean meal announced sold to South Korea this morning. That helped to support the bean meal just a little bit and the bean complex as a whole. Informa released some numbers today about the 2012 and 13 acreage. Bean acres came in at 77.1. The USDA had bean acres pegged at about 76.1. 2013 crop, they had a good size jump to 79.9 as far as acres planted for the beans. So the trade did look at that as a little bit bearish today, and that's not surprising. Informa usually comes out with numbers that are a little bit bearish. The corn numbers came out at about 97.2 million acres versus what the USDA had them pegged at about 96.4. So both the corn and the beans saw a little bit of an increase in acres, and that's not too much of a surprise that we did see that. Wheat today, as we talked about earlier, was the main driver today, as there's been a lot of talk about this Russian drought situation causing a little bit of an export ban, a little bit of talk about the export ban. So that's going to be the big driver for the grains there, or was for the last few days. They've come out a few times and said that they are not going to be banning exports. That's something that the Russian government has spoken about here. The main thing we need to focus on is how the USDA is taking this. They're already assuming an increase in exports to come later in the year, and we are behind the current export pace to meet those expectations. So we're not seeing it yet. The trade feels like we could see it in the future, but in my opinion, I don't think it's going to be as bullish as a lot of guys are talking about, because the USDA has already accounted for this with an increase in exports. Cattle today, we saw cattle on feed numbers released. On feed, 99. Placed 89 and marketed at 95. It's definitely bullish, the deferred contracts, looking at the lower placements. So we're going to have lower on feed numbers coming down the pipeline a little later. Slightly bearish for the nearbys, as we had marketings that didn't quite get to expectations and a little bit better feed number than we had thought. Cash traded today yesterday down $1 for the week at 126. The December cattle finished today up 25 cents at about 128.40. Hogs today, cash hogs traded a little lower today after seeing 6 consecutive days of gains, and we saw some bearish cold storage numbers today. So that could push us down here going forward. We were up about 80 cents today in the D's, right at 75 cents is where we finished there. As far as outside markets today, Dow futures finished about 16 points higher when I had last checked. We've got the dollar that was down about 8 points, would help lead a little bit of a commodity support. We had the crude oil. That finished up about 70 cents today, but down $6.40 for the week, so we saw a little bit of profit taking there. And that's what we had for the outside markets. In wrapping up here, just want to remind everybody that we've got our Ag Leader webinar, which is going to be next week. We've got a speaker from the USDA. They're expert on South American weather, so you can sign up for that on Allendale's website at allendale-inc.com. And if anybody's got any questions for us out there, give us a call at 262-7538. And I hope everybody has a good and safe weekend, and we'll talk to you next week. Thank you.